Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning is former Chicago Tribune editorial page editor Kristen McQuarrie. And just in case you thought that we were done with the politics of COVID in terms of electoral politics, the rewriting of the history of 2020 into 2021, that we could have reasonable conversations about this. Let's, all be adults here. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, you may remember him from Impeachment 1.0, one of the star witnesses for the impeachment managers. He's got a book out. So, of course, he was on one of the fungible MSNBC shows to promote it. And here's what he had to say about President Trump, the failure to impeach and remove President Trump the first time around, what it cost America.
I think that we should not be dismissive. If we want right to matter, we have to make it matter. I think the Congress, the Senate in particular, Senate Republicans abrogated their responsibilities under the Constitution and under the specific oath they swore during the trial. There's a direct logic link to the 600,000 dead. If the president was held accountable, removed, we would have 600,000 more Americans walking the streets today. If they censured him, the president would be on his heels, and he would probably have been a little more cautious going into COVID. We wouldn't have an economic disaster. If we want things to matter, we have to make it matter.
Whew. Wow.
This is what passes as a military intelligence officer these days. Really. And of course, that statement, as ridiculous as almost any statement I've heard in the last 18 months, goes completely unchallenged. So if we had a different president, the virus wouldn't have made land here, Lieutenant Colonel, and 600,000 people wouldn't have died. We'd have 600,000 more. Nobody would have died from COVID because COVID would have never been here had we had a different president when you say we should have had one. There's a logical thread there. But on what planet?
Was he blaming Senate Republicans somehow for that?
For not removing him. We'd have 600,000 more Americans if he had been removed when Alexander Vindman said he should have been removed.
Okay. Well, if we're going to hold every elected official responsible for every COVID death, there are a lot of governors and mayors across the country who might want to dispute that.
Well, also, too, how does that inform your view of impeachment 1.0? Alexander Vindman, he doesn't have a political axe to grind. He's not a political actor. He's a military man. He's a military officer. He's a foreign service officer. He's just telling the truth. He's just there to protect this country. That was the storyline there. How does that hold up now that he's hawking his book and making statements like that? It's just remarkable. Just remarkable. And what they get away with because they have the conduits that half the country listen to. For more on this, pleased to be joined by Chadwick Moore, contributor editor for The Spectator. Chadwick, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. If you want to pile on the Vindman thing, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we can move on. I just had to get that in because it's just so obscene that we're still playing this 600,000 dead. That is the responsibility of President Trump. 15,000 dead in nursing homes. Your governor there, Cuomo. And the Justice Department says there's nothing to see here.
Yeah. If you want to talk about President Trump, what about Andrew Cuomo, which I guess now the nursing home deaths, it seems, were way worse than we thought since they're taking the sexual harassment thing in order to get him out of office. Hopefully that will detract from what Democrat, not just Andrew Cuomo, what other Democrat governors have been alleged to have been doing during COVID, but shoving sick people into nursing homes for whatever reason. They thought that was a good idea or part of the plan. It is remarkable. You're right. And people just, it's what they want to hear. And they don't really care about the truth. They're thinking more deeply into it. They just want to hear Orange Man bad still. And the Democrats want to keep this going well into 2022. They want to keep lockdowns going and all this confusion around the information well into the midterms, hoping they can still keep blaming everything on Republicans in red states. If you just did what we said, if Florida would just do what we say, these horrible Republicans, then everything will get back to normal. So make sure you don't vote for them next time.
So, Chadwick, you are a New Yorker, I believe, right? tell
Yes,
us
ma'am.
what is sort of the on the ground perspective with what happened yesterday with the governor. There was just a report out this morning. It may have been in the AG's report, but he even made uncomfortable, inappropriate comments to a doctor who was giving him a COVID test on live television. Told her that she made the gown look good, and the doctor was made very uncomfortable, saying he made remarks to her that he would not have made to a male doctor, and it just seems like it's never ending. So what is it like on the ground?
He's just so lonely.
He's hitting on everyone. I mean, a woman is putting a cotton swab up his nose, and he takes it as an opportunity to.
I got someplace else you can put that swab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is just crazy.
Well, it's also it is, and the audacity of Joe Biden to say he should step down when Joe Biden still has his own accuser out there that no one wants to give any attention to, and it's in liberal New York City, of course, it's like, oh, well, what about Donald Trump and what about Justice Kavanaugh? All of these accusations against them, which have been thoroughly debunked, and a lot of kind of loopy people were giving a lot of media attention for accusations that didn't seem that credible. But what's interesting about Cuomo is, the report documents something like 179 accusers. So it was a sort of people who I'm sure many of them voluntarily came forward, but a lot of the accusations are could be taken out of context, couldn't be, it's maybe like, oh, maybe that sounded a little strange at the time. But if you get that many people coming forward, you can amass this huge document that looks really, really bad. And I'm not standing up for Andrew Cuomo, but it just seems like there is a political agenda on the left to get rid of him, and for this reason, which I think is interesting. Nobody really questions that, and nobody really wonders why the party might want him out, or what else is going on behind the scenes. But he's, people in Andrew Cuomo's. He's a guy named Cuomo from New York, so whether he's going to step down or not, I don't know, and he might not even have to. But, we thought that this was going to happen months ago when these accusations first started coming out, and he just very smugly and boldly said, no, I'm not leaving, I'm staying. And then the media said, okay, and moved on.
Right. Well, now he's got this report, he's got a problem. Charlotte Bennett, her interview from March was pretty damning, and it actually looks more damning in retrospect, particularly after his just farcical, almost Monty Python quality response to the release of that report yesterday, where he talks about how he paws people from every walk of life in the world that he sees, and so on and so forth.
He kisses everyone.
No,
he touches everyone.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you're black or white or gay or straight. This is just what we do. We're Italians. This is part of our culture.
It's culture. It's generational. It's all politics, like you just mentioned.
It's untrue.
It's untrue. I got to get back to fighting the COVID beast. I don't want to have to give up my international Emmy, so on and so forth. Yeah.
yeah, the Emmy's another. That one is the gift that keeps on giving, his Emmy. So Hollywood is continuing to award sex pests with Emmys and all these others. Yeah, I mean, he certainly could ride this out, and the media would let him do it. And he's got his brother on CNN who didn't even mention it last night, and didn't seem to care that everyone was going to point it out today. He seems to be pretty secure in his job, and it's a shame. It'd be really wonderful for him to leave, and if we could get his father's name off of the Tappan Zee Bridge, that would be a great thing too.
Speaking of New York City, let's talk about the Key to NYC pass that Mayor Warren Wilhelm has rolled out. You gotta have a vaccine, proof of vaccination to go to a health club, go to a restaurant, go to a theater. When does New York City go full Karachi? And I'm talking about Pakistan, where the government there blocked phone SIM cards for the unvaccinated. It's sort of like you can't use your cell phone if you don't get vaccinated. Sort of that version of it. I mean, that's just a half a step from where De Blasio is at present.
Yeah, when people were saying that they had fears of these things, several months ago or a year ago, everyone said there are conspiracy theories, and now it looks like it's a march in that direction. Now with De Blasio's order, it can't be legal or constitutional. I'm sure that lawsuits are already getting ready to be filed, but that doesn't seem to be the point. It seems like he's going to make this announcement. He's going to get people freaked out, well, I better get a bit vaccinated now. It's never going to he's going to convince private businesses to go along with it, self-impose these restrictions on people. And then in the end, the state probably won't be able to actually enforce it, but it'll get people to voluntarily agree with it. And it's going to coincide with the end of tourism season. Numbers are going to drop anyway. They can congratulate themselves for that. But another interesting thing, in New York City, the people who aren't getting vaccinated, they aren't, Trump-supporting rednecks or Republicans because there just are very few of them in New York. It's Black people, it's Latino people, it's a majority of residents of the Bronx. It's over 50% of Black New Yorkers, the unvaccinated are Black New Yorkers. And so who's calling out the fact that Bill de Blasio is now saying that Black people can't go to the gyms and can't go out to eat? I think that's the bigger story.
Right. I mean, these are his constituents, actually, who are the ones choosing to not be vaccinated, and largely because, like other folks, they are skeptical of government, and so they keep trying to twist this as if it's an equity issue and vaccine is just harder to get or it's not available to these populations. But I mean, coming from Chicago, that's just not true. I mean, here they will drive vaccine to your home because they are so desperate to get some of those communities on board with vaccination. But the politicians are trying to make it sound like it's an equity issue when in fact it's a trust issue.
Absolutely. You're completely correct about that. Anyone can get a vaccine. It's why in New York it's as widely available, and they make it as convenient as possible. And these are people who, God bless them, are distrustful of the government, and that's their right to be, and they don't want to be putting this medicine in their body. And here, their leaders, the people they elected, are forcing them to do something which they clearly don't want to do. I mean, anyone who wants to be vaccinated has had more than enough time to do it. Everyone has access to it. This is the liberal government saying, no, you don't have a choice in this. We're telling you what you have to do.
Before we let you go, I did want to get to this tribute you offered to a certain group of employees, workers in our economy. You wrote, like any rebellious granny slaughtering enemy of the state, I took many trips during lockdown, all of them essential. Stay at home, according to the science that only applied to the olds, the fats, the sicks, and Democrats. There remained nothing morally wrong or illegal with living life normally as best as you could. By the way, I like the term the fats as a category. Okay, so you're right, a rebellious granny slaughtering enemy of the state. So you were traveling during COVID, but you found or renewed a love affair with flight attendants as a category. Explain.
I felt that they needed some more love. I was just traveling during COVID, all of it essential travel, of course. The airports and traveling was so nice, and it gave me a lot of time to sort of reflect on how miraculous and almost divine this thing we do every day is, hopping on airplanes. And I realized that the flight attendants don't get enough love, and they're treated like these, minimum wage burger flippers, but really they're far more like something from Downton Abbey. Their closest spiritual ancestors are from another century. They are stewards of great vessels. And they're also benevolent authoritarians, which maybe we need a little more of in today's world.
Some less benevolent than others in my experience. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Stewards of great vessels. Oh, that's interesting.
If they give free cocktails, that's the threshold for me. If there's no free cocktails, I'm going to have to disagree with your take.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Chadwick Moore, contributing editor for The Spectator. Chadwick, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
You join us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.